Phil Etchelles, lower 6 PE. Okay, Phil, what I'd like you to do is, from the cricket clip you've just watched, describe all the strengths and weaknesses of the cricketer identified, prioritise the major weakness and create a viable action plan to improve this weakness. Next, I'd like you to describe the opportunities for mass participation and excellence both locally and nationally. And finally, describe the health benefits of participating in cricket. Okay, good luck.
Alright. After watching the clip, I'm going to analyse the strengths and weaknesses of the batsman in the green helmet with the red GM bat. Firstly, I thought a skill strength was his forward defence because he got a long stride in, he transferred his weight from his back foot onto his front foot, so he kept his head over the ball and there was no gap between his bat and his pad. Therefore, there was no chance of the ball going through and hitting the stumps. He played the ball with the bat angled towards the ground and soft hands, so therefore there was less chance of the ball flicking up and presenting the edge for catching the slips. Another skill strength I thought was his leg side flick, because he got his head, knee and his foot in line with the ball, his foot to the pitch of the ball, and he used the pace of the ball to manipulate it from on the middle leg stump into the mid-wicket area. He also flicked his wrists to get the ball obviously off the stumps into that area, and I thought he was successful because he played it along the ground, but he was also successful as he played it over the top of the fielders as well. Going on to the strengths of his tactics, I thought was his shot selection. As mentioned in the leg flick, I thought he was successful because he had the tactical awareness of knowing that the players were inside the circle, so he took the controlled risk of playing the leg flick over the top of the fielders to score an easy boundary. I thought another tactical strength was his calling, because in the clip he played a forward defence into the offside, but he shouted yes and then wait or no, yes or no, and in this instance he shouted no as there was no run, but the wait enabled him to see if his partner was ready and backing up, so obviously he wouldn't have wanted to run his partner out. Going on to his fitness components, I thought a strength of his was his flexibility. For example, in the forward defence, he got his foot, he got in a long stride. As mentioned, he got his bat and pad close together as there was no gap, but also the flexibility was important because it enabled him to get to the pitch of the ball, his foot to the pitch of the ball, and he kept it nice and low, and therefore he reduced the chance of any late spin or swing coming off the track and then presenting an edge to the slip cordon. Another fitness strength I thought was his hand-eye coordination, because it was important that his hands and feet were moving in cohesion to get into early positions as fast as possible, so he had the most control over his shots. For example, playing the leg side flick, that takes a lot of hand-eye coordination to get into position early, so he's not presenting a leading edge, which could offer a catching opportunity for the fielders. Going on to the weaknesses, I thought a skill weakness was his front foot drive, because ideally he should be being from the balance position, feet shoulder width apart, transferring his weight forward to the pitch, his foot to the pitch of the ball, his elbow coming through nice and high from a high fluent backswing, and striking the ball with the full face, but instead he wasn't waiting for the ball, he was reaching for the ball, and therefore there was a chance of him inside edging the ball onto his stumps, but also presenting the outside edge for a catch in the slips. And he was moving from the side-on position to almost straightening up, and this is because his elbow was coming across the line of the ball, and his bottom hand was hitting the bottom of the bat and going into the leg side when it should have been in a straight drive. Another skill weakness I thought was his square cut, because for this shot you need to transfer the weight from the front foot to the back foot and across, but he looked like he was caught in two minds between playing the cover drive and the square cut, and to play the square cut you need to bring the bat from behind your head to full arm extension, play the ball as late as possible under your head, so you have the most control and can play it into the behind point, behind the square area on the offside. And also you need to roll the wrists in the square cut to keep the ball on the ground, as that's important. I thought a tactical weakness of his was the accuracy of his shots that he was playing, and this links to his front foot drive being poor, because I think it looked like he was trying to hit the ball too hard, and the pressure was building on him as he was becoming frustrated with his poor straight drive. When really he should be picking the gaps, manipulating the field, and to create scoring opportunities. But instead he was slowing the score rate down for his team. A fitness component, which was a weakness, I thought, was his agility, because, for example, in the clip he plays a late shot towards the boundary, towards the end of the clip, and he should be sprinting for a 2, whereas he was jogging to the popping crease and turning for the 2. He looked quite slow, and where ideally you should be sprinting the first run as fast as possible, getting down nice and low and sliding your bat into the crease, and then ready to take off for the second run, as this will give you an advantage for getting the next run in. And this can pressure the fielders into making a mistake, such as a misfield or an overthrow, and this can lead to more runs. But he was turning quite slow. And then another weakness of his fitness, I thought, was his stamina, and because the shot he played to the boundary, he could have sprinted for a 2, but he just jogged to the other end for a single, and this shows that he was fatigued after maybe doing only a few short anaerobic singles, and therefore the fatigue is a weakness, because later in the innings it caused a loss of concentration, which may lead to a silly mistake in him, for example hitting the ball in the air and getting himself out. Prioritising the major weakness, I thought, was his front foot drive, and because, as mentioned, he played it. The coaching points for the front foot drive should be transferring your weight onto your front foot, getting your foot to the pitch of the ball, a high elbow coming through to strike the ball, a high fluent backswing, opening the full face of the bat to give it the best chance of striking the middle. And you should be playing the ball under your nose as you've got your head over the ball to have the nose control and keep the ball on the ground. Whereas he was turning his body, his elbow was coming across the line of the ball, and he was therefore could have chopped the ball onto his wickets, but he was playing the ball into the mid-wicket area. For the 6-week action plan, it'll be over 6 weeks, and he'll be training 3 times a week, starting off at 20-minute sessions. But before the action plan begins, I will test him. I'll get the bowling machine out, give him 20 balls, ask him to perform his front foot drive to get the ball through a target 8 metres wide, 15 yards away. But obviously, from watching the clip, I'll be expecting quite a low score, as his front foot drive was the weakness. Into the first week, I'll take him right back to the basics of the front foot drive. I'll place a tennis ball on the cone, and get him to work on getting his foot to the pitch of the ball, and then bringing that elbow nice through and straight, with the bat and pad close together, and striking the ball through a target or a gate of 8 metres wide, 15 yards away. And I'll do this for 20 minutes 3 times a week. On to the second week, and he'll be working with the coach. He'll do a drop feed, so stand in front of him, drop the tennis ball, and on the second bounce, the player will need to strike the ball, again getting his foot to the pitch of the ball. But this time it's a bit of progression, because he's working on his timing as he has to wait for the second bounce. And this will be for 25 minutes, 3 times a week. Moving on to the third week, the coach will do underarm throwdowns from halfway down the track. Again, he's trying to practice getting that elbow nice and straight coming through from the fluent high backswing. But for progression this week, I'll narrow the gate down to 6 metres and place it 18 yards away. On to the fourth week, I'll start using overarm throwdowns with a piece of equipment which replicates a bowler's action. And this is more realistic to a game, as the bowler's action can be unpredictable and the ball can come out in different ways. So therefore, and obviously it's faster using an overarm throw, so he'll be working on his reaction time as well. and this will be for 30 minutes 3 times a week. On to the 5th week, I'll start using the bowling machine, and therefore we can manipulate the speed to make it again more realistic to the game, as in the game there's going to be bowlers of varying speeds, and every 18 balls or so I'll increase the speed by 5 miles an hour, starting at 50 miles an hour, and varying up the length of the ball, which you can use with the bowling machine. So a shorter pitch ball, you'll have to wait for it longer and then get his foot to the pitch of the ball. And then progression again this week, I'll move the target down to 4 metres and place it 20 yards away, as this can replicate a captain moving his fielders closer together in a game. And then on to the final week, I'll start using a real cricket ball, as this can, again with the bowling machine, but we'll take away the gate this week and instead place them in a net. And where the fielders will be in a real game, I'll place some cones, so there'll be a cone at mid-off, cover an extra cover where the fielders will be, and I'm using a real cricket ball because he'll be working with a running partner, so I'll get him to strike the ball in his cover drive, and if he thinks he's middled it, getting the right technique and middle the ball into the gap, I'll get him to shout yes and 3, and then he'll have to run a 3 with his partner, and that's working on his CV fitness, which I thought was quite weak as well in the clip. I'll do this for 45 minutes for 3 times a week. And then as an extra this week, if I think he's performing well, I'll perhaps introduce some swing into the ball machine, so working on his leads as well. So as his weakness was he was reaching for the ball, I'll get him to really get back to the basics of the technique and get him as close to the technical model as possible. And then finally, after the 6-week programme, I'll retest him, take him back to the ball machine, give him 20 balls again, set the target up 8 metres wide, 15 yards away, but this time we'll be expecting a higher score than there was at the beginning after the 6 weeks, and some improvement in the technique, getting that elbow going through straight with his foot obviously next to the pitch of the ball. On to opportunities for mass participation in excellence locally and nationally. Mass participation locally can be quick cricket in the schools, where you learn the basics of the quick cricket game with your friends and have some fun. Also, you can join your local cricket club, where all clubs will accept players, boys and girls, to get them into the junior setup. But mass participation nationally can be linked to the ECB initiative, Chance to Shine, which is increasing the number of young cricket players playing at grassroots. And they run summer camps, where qualified coaches will run competitions, tournaments, where you can have fun but also learn the basics of cricket and pick up the techniques and tips that they give you. For progression in cricket, you'll start locally at your local club at under 11s, where you have specific rules such as pairs cricket, where you'll bat for 20. You'll bat in 5 pairs, batting 4 overs each for 20 overs, and there'll be no LBWs, and if you're out, you'll only lose -5 runs to give you young people the best chance of more time in the game situation. And also the score will start on 100. And progressing up through the juniors, you'll move from under 13s to under 15s to under 17s, where the proper rules introduced LBWs, and you'll be playing in a league competition with other teams in your local area. If you're performing well at your local club, you'll be asked to play in your senior teams, which can be the 3rd, the 2nd or the 1st team, where you can play from the age of 13, but these games, instead of 20 overs, are 45 overs on a Saturday, and you'll be playing, for example, in the Derbyshire and Cheshire Cricket League, you'll play in the Hawke Trophy and the Bissenden Cup, which is also 45 overs, batting all day and fielding all day, so it requires a high level of skill. And also you'll be playing with players of a variety of ages and abilities, so young juniors, also old men and young lads. If you're spotted playing well at your local cricket club, you may be asked to go for a trial with the district. For example, in my area it's the EPIP district, and you'll go for winter training with them, with qualified coaches, and play at under 13s and 15s level, playing with the best players from your local league, but also playing the different districts in your county, For example, in Derbyshire you'll be playing Derbyshire Dales, Derby City, Amber Valley and Erewash districts. If you're spotted playing well in the district cricket, you'll move on to the Derbyshire development side, which is again at under 11s, 13s and 15s level, but it's you're picked as the best developing players in your county, and obviously there'll be a lot more players there playing at a higher competition level, and you'll train every Sunday for 12 weeks. 12 weeks there. If the Derbyshire Cricket Board recognise you as a skillful player of high level, you may be asked to go for a trial with the County Academy, which ranges from under 11s to under 18s. You'll be training regularly there with level 2 or 3 qualified coaches, playing with the best players in your county, but also playing counties such as Lancashire, Warwickshire, Yorkshire, at similar age levels. At the end of the County Academy, you may be given a county contract. For example, you'll be playing for Derbyshire in the County Championship, the YB40 and the T20. And if you're playing well, again you'll be playing the other counties such as Lancashire and Yorkshire as mentioned. If you're recognised by the ECB playing well at the county level, you'll be asked to play for the national team, so you'll perhaps start at under 18s for England, then progress into the England Lions and eventually the England first team, where you'll be playing all over the world, venues such as Lords, the Oval, the MCG, with world-class coaching, for example Andy Flower in the England setup, and world-class facilities. And also at international level, there's a variety of competitions. There's the tests against test nations such as West Indies, India, the Ashes against Australia, the World T20, and the Cricket World Cup 50 over game. And there's this variety of competition for different players such as Joss Butler, where power, speed, agility are important in the T20, whereas in the test match you'll have players such as Alistair Cook, where concentration, batting for long periods of time are important. And then moving on to the health benefits of training and competing regularly in cricket, can fall into 4 categories: psychological benefits, cardiovascular benefits, respiratory benefits and musculoskeletal benefits. The benefits of on the musculoskeletal system include improved posture, muscular hypertrophy, increased thickness of articular cartilage, increased strength of ligaments and surrounding muscle tone. And this, for example, is if you're a bowler, you'll be running in for 20-30 overs a day and strengthening the ligaments and the articular cartilage in the knee joints, for example. This can help reduce the risk of diseases such as osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, and this is through maintaining a healthy weight, reducing the mechanical strain on the joints. The benefits on the cardiovascular system include improved efficiency of the stroke volume and cardiac output. For example, if you're fielding at cover all day, you'll be running back and forward, sprinting to the boundary, so you'll be the endurance all day, for however many overs you play in a day, 40 overs, possibly 80 overs in a test match. And this can, the improved efficiency in a healthy heart will reduce the risk of diseases, cardiovascular diseases such as angina, which is the blockage of the coronary artery, heart attack, the severe restriction of O2, arteriosclerosis, which is the loss of elasticity in the arterial wall, and atherosclerosis, which is fatty deposits building up from cholesterol. And then finally, also the respiratory system benefits include improved strength of respiratory muscles such as the scalenes, improved gaseous exchange through increasing the number of alveoli and capillarization. And this, for example, is when you're batting, you'll be batting and doing lots of anaerobic sprints, so that's where you're building up the strength of the respiratory muscles. And also this can help to reduce the risk of respiratory diseases such as asthma and bronchitis. And then finally, onto the psychological benefits of playing and training cricket, can include teamwork. For example, if if you're new to the area and join the local team, you'll be making new friends, but also the team morale in the dressing room. Also, self-confidence and self-esteem, which you can gain from gaining respect from peers, other players and your coaches, which can help to improve your performance. And also important life skills such as leadership skills and communication. For example, if you're the captain of your local cricket team, you need to set the example for younger players, encourage young players, and then this can help you set up possibly for a future career as perhaps being a cricket coach. Thank you very much.
Well done, thank you.